There's one question that people consistently keep asking me is the question is the Bitcoin bottom in? And we share indicators and charts and all these grand ideas and reasons it has to be in and minor capitulation and all these ideas. At the end of the day, I was one of the first people saying that Bitcoin was an uncorrelated asset. I was horribly wrong. The answer is that Bitcoin's going to bottom when the rest of markets bottom. And we will discuss that momentarily. Let's go.
Let's go.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and elbow the like button. You can give it the people's elbow like The Rock back in the day. Anyone who used to watch WWF wrestling, you tap the elbow, drop it right there on the like button. That's how you do it. You have to also go off the ropes on both sides first and take off your elbow pad. Okay, I think we all know what the rock bottom is. Anyways, guys, as I mentioned there in the intro, right? We've gone through every basically indicator analysis we can possibly find on the Bitcoin chart and altcoin charts and everything. And the bottom line is none of it matters, right? As I said in the newsletter this morning, if you read it, I talked about the search for the holy bottom. And I made a potentially offensive to some of you. I don't know. I don't know how religious people are, but I basically said that we're waiting for the Holy Trinity. The Father, which is the Fed, the Son, Jerome Powell, and the Holy Ghost, inflation, right? And until those three things are sorted out, we are just in the back of the line. Much like people like me who are waiting to see what will happen with their coins that are locked on these platforms, just in the back of the Chapter 11 line with everybody else in the bread line. But yeah, guys, listen, as I said before, I was the uncorrelated asset guy. 10 years of Bitcoin history, largely uncorrelated asset. Well, right now, it's just another risk asset that's trading like everything else. You want to see a really important chart? This is the best thing I got for you. This is when the Bitcoin bottom is going to be in when we see something like this. Here you go. That's it. When the Fed starts aggressively printing money again, if we get into a recession, then we can start talking about it. But I've got somebody who has a much better grasp of macro than myself here to talk about this today. And that is, of course, Jon Dr. J Najarian with the best nickname and hats in the game. How are you today, man?
Thank you. Yeah, I love that you love the hats. I've got my Dragerman shirt on here for you today, Scott, because I figure we're going to war, and what better than to have a Dragerman, which is part of the SEALs.
Absolutely. So, I mean, and this is going to be potentially a big week, right? We have CPI coming in once again, and now I think we're seeing CPI likely coming in hot. I've heard predictions of 9%.
Ooh, yeah, you've nailed it. And I've been saying, when we get it on the 13th, it'll be our way, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on the 13th. That is the most important number. Far more important even than earnings. Earnings are always important, but the Fed cares about this, CPI. They don't really care about earnings. They do care about the stock market, which is why people have started to think, Scott, that maybe the Fed takes their foot off the brake a little bit because they're hurting the market so much. But I think if this number does come in hot, as you say, and, volatile food and energy. I love when they throw those out because nobody eats and nobody drives around and none of our stuff gets delivered. But nonetheless, I think we're going to be focused on this number on Wednesday. That is the most important number, much more than Jamie Dimon's number or any of these other reports that we're about to get. Of course, we start out with the banks and then we'll go towards tech in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people expect banks actually to report relatively well. From what I've seen, that it won't be that nothing shocking, at least I should say. But you kind of make the joke, right? CPI is what the Fed cares about, but they willingly throw out the two most arguably important metrics of inflation. Yeah. So how do we square that? That doesn't make much sense.
No, and it's probably why, Scott, that they have missed it so badly on the way into this. When you and I, I've been lucky enough to be on your show several times, and we talked about transitory. Drink, because every time they said
every time you say transitory, you do a shot. Yeah.
It became a drinking game. And none of us that really are in the market and trading thought that it was transitory. Unless you have a really long timeline. Again, you and I talked about zero hedge and how he says on a long enough timeline, the lifespan of everybody goes to zero or something to that effect. The same thing here. On a long enough time frame, transitory is transitory on a long enough time frame, because we're all going to be dust in 200, 300 years. We'll all just have worms eating us and be a little bit of dust left in the coffin. But I think overall what we want to focus on is give the Fed some credit. They are going to try not to do a double, which would be miss out on the inflationary move and wait way too long, and then hit it so hard with interest rates that they drive us into a recession. But I do think there's a 75 or 80% chance that they do just that, Scott, drive us into a recession, at least a mild one. And if they get stubborn, as they were with that so-called transitory inflation, if they get stubborn, then the inflation will be a head rocker. It'll be one that drives us, unfortunately, well below 3,000, probably down to like 2,600 or something like that. I'm talking S&P numbers here.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think they'll do that. I think when they realize that they're pushing too hard, they will back off. And that's why I'm predicting that they'll pause in September. But if your number comes in, if it's 9, Katie bar the door. They're not going to be able to back off in September. Right. They'll keep hitting it.
And what you're saying lines up very well, actually, with historical precedents of any time there's been a midterm election or an election during a tightening cycle. There's really never been a time that markets have performed poorly in a tightening cycle in Q4 of an election year, right? If we come in at 9%, if they go 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, nobody gets reelected. I just don't see that happen. I don't see them allowing that to happen. I'm not saying I'm making no political judgments, but I don't, certainly I think everyone agrees that we need something to change.
Yeah. And
some
Scott,
way, shape, or form.
Just so you know where I am on that, I'm a libertarian. I am not hardcore Republican. I do tend to lean away from Democratic politics, but that doesn't mean I don't have hate in my heart for the Democrats. I don't have love in my heart for the Republicans. One of the best things we could do, there's a guy running in, I think his name's Ferguson in South Carolina. He's running for governor, I believe, against a Republican. And I loved his statement. We got to get rid of these geriatric oligarchs, because that's what they are. I mean, Leahy breaks his hip just walking. And this man should be playing with his grandchildren, not in the Senate, not trying to make laws and all the rest. Same thing with Pelosi, same thing with Biden and Trump. All of these folks are too old to be doing this very important work. I'd love it if we could throw them all out. That would be ideal. And like I say, both sides. Throw them both out.
I hope we can do that. I just hope we can do that without a debilitating recession or depression to cause it. I don't disagree, obviously. I just think the point is that they can't just push continuously the Fed, regardless of the numbers, and just send us into a debilitating long-term recession.
No.
They just can't. That's why that stupid meme I played at the beginning with the lady dancing and the money printer on, it's inevitable. And there's never that, for anyone who believes it's not going to happen again, this is just the cycle. I mean, you tighten, you loosen, you tighten, you loosen, but all on a trajectory of more printing over time.
And they always use the analogy, Scott, but it's so good. And that is, it takes a while to turn an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, when you've got a super tanker or an aircraft carrier, you hit it hard to the right, it's going to lean and it's going to start going to that right and that, or starboard. And then when you want to have it go back to port, you have to oversteer to get it back over to port. And so, in other words, you go too far on both directions, because it's very hard to turn that thing, and it's almost impossible in terms of Fed to get it straight. They overcompensate to one direction, overcompensate to the other. That's just the nature of the beast.
Right, but using the same analogy, the problem here is that because it takes a long time, they didn't turn early enough, right? And so how do you thread this needle now that you've described, right? You don't want to, basically there's no good answer, right? And there's no way to thread that needle. How do they make that work? I think at the end of the day, they just go back to printing just a little less, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're right. And I think that overall, a lot of people blame the Fed. Obviously, Yellen was completely wrong when she headed the Fed. Powell has been wrong as he heads the Fed. And then she didn't even have the guts to tell them when she became Treasury Secretary that this would cause inflation. You and I knew it. Many of us were screaming it from the rooftops when we said you can't throw another $5 trillion at a locked down market when everybody's about to come out and say, well, it won't cause inflation. I don't know. I know she went to Princeton. I know she went to Yale. I know she went to Columbia. I know she taught at Harvard, but apparently she didn't learn much, because there's a lot of street people who would be able to say, you throw a whole bunch of money at somebody just as they're coming out of prison, they're going to spend it really fast. And that's what happened here.
So is there anything that you're looking for short of kind of what I described, which is the Fed tightening a bit less, that could sort of bring us out of this bear market, crypto or otherwise?
Well, it's not my job to kill people, thankfully. I know friends in the SEALs, in various special operators, that is their job. I don't know why something like that hasn't been done. I do know why, because there's a law against it. But the President of the United States is not supposed to kill foreign leaders. He's not supposed to sanction it and so forth. It's in the Constitution. However, if somehow Mr. Putin was to pass away, I think that's something, Scott, that you'd see a significant rally in the market. You'd hopefully, depending who the next person is in charge in Russia, you might even see sanctions rolled back, because again, this is not, the war itself isn't causing the inflation except for food and nutrients like fertilizer, because they can't get that out of Ukraine during the war. But the reason that we're seeing gasoline prices, diesel prices, energy so high is because Europe has been trying to hurt Putin. I'm not saying they're wrong, but they're trying to hurt Putin, and they're hurting themselves at the same time. That's the sacrifice they're willing to make, is that they're cutting back on oil and gas out of Russia. That is what's pushing up prices, because demand remains the same, and yet you've got less supply. So, again, you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be Janet Yellen or Jay Powell or anybody else to know how supply and demand works. But they have sanctioned that oil and that natural gas, and now Putin's cutting back on the gas. So there's going to be inflation, in particular in energy, because of that. And it's not because of the war, it's because the sanctions placed on there, which I understand why we're doing it, why Europe's doing it, but nonetheless, that's why it's driving Europe into a recession right now, because they will not be able to stomach these prices. And we're not even through the really difficult part when it gets cold in Europe. We're in the instant-on natural gas electrification side that is tough for them to do right now. That's why they're more dependent on coal and nukes, but most of them shut down their nukes. So, this isn't an interestingly good scenario for Europe at all.
No, and I don't think that there's really, beyond Putin mysteriously passing away, really a light at the end of that tunnel. What I find really interesting is that nobody talks about that war anymore. It's completely been rinsed out of the news cycle, at least in the United States. You would think it was over. It was all we heard about, and now it's gone. Yep,
very true. And, I was with a 3-star general this weekend. I won't say his name, but I was with him, and we were talking about the war, and he has accurately called this on a number of networks, what would happen. And very few people in the military thought that Putin was just going to go in there and roll right over Ukraine. They really didn't. They thought this would be a prolonged slog, much like, the modern day equivalent of World War I, with trench warfare and all that sort of thing. Now, that changes if Putin decides to use modern weapons, because right now, except for 1 or 2 hypersonic missiles that were probably more or less tests just to prove and show the West that he has what he says he has, Other than that, I think this is all World War II era, Korean War, that is, era tanks and missiles and mortars and all that stuff. It's not modern warfare per se. And so we'll have to keep our eye on that. And I think that's one of the reasons you're right, that this is just going to keep driving and not as interesting because people die. This is a proxy war, us against Russia. And, Russia's more than happy to just keep slogging along and having us spend billions of dollars and hopefully not too much of our soldiers' blood.
Do you think that there's any catalyst that could send Bitcoin or the crypto market up without global markets also rising? I sort of made the argument it's very unlikely in the beginning, but is there, would an ETF have done it? Is there something out there that could potentially be a catalyst?
I don't think the ETF would have done it. I think overall you're exactly right. And I was in your camp, Scott. So some people complain from time to time, oh, John, you don't admit when you're wrong. I admit I was wrong. I was wrong about this risk asset, which it clearly is now. I thought that it was going to be a hedge against inflation and so forth. And I'm not unhappy that I own it or that I bought it, luckily cheaper than where it is now. I'm not happy that I didn't sell it at 69,000 because I was hodling so hard. But nonetheless, I think that overall, what we need for this to go up is the printing of money that you say, which unfortunately probably comes because they fear that they've driven us towards or we are already in a recession. And I think the printing of that money would be one of the main catalysts that could turn Bitcoin around.
Yeah, I don't know how the Fed gets out of this, to be quite honest, right? As you sort of just touched on, I think we're already in a recession, which means you kind of need to print money, but we also have high inflation, which means you need to stop printing money. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
I don't even think anyone could handle it in their situation now. They're responsible for it. It's Powell's fault, but at this point, you can put in, some giga genius we don't even know exists, and they can't solve that problem.
Right. Yeah, it will be a problem for them. If they, again, the best thing the Fed can do is go slow. If they have to hit it with multiple 75 basis point jumps in interest rates, they're not only hurting the small people like you and me, because we're small. The big people are the government itself. The big people are the states that need to borrow, the government that needs to borrow, and they're moving up their rates like crazy. That hurts the $1 trillion of borrowing, not just the millions and billions that regular people borrow. So it hurts both sides. The government, however, is not going to default, but they're just going to stretch out the timeline like we've already discussed, whereas regular people don't really get to stretch out the timeline. American Express, MasterCard, Visa, they want their money when they want it. We can't just refi like the government can.
I absolutely agree. Well, man, thank you so much for your time. It's like I show up every day now and it's all bad news and bad vibes. But I think that at the end of the day, everybody should realize that we're talking about the time frame, and this is definitely going to eventually correct. Things will get better. It's just a matter of when it happens, right?
Yep, they will. So stay strong, people.
Thank you guys. Everyone follow Jon, JonNajarian on Twitter. Jon Najarian. Thank you once again, man. Always a pleasure to have you.
Likewise, Scott. Keep up the good work.
Awesome, man. Well, really always an honor to have Jon here, one of my favorite people, and gracing me with his presence when he could be off on, I don't know, network television somewhere talking to someone much more important. So, guys, I think I agree generally with all of that. We're at a situation, obviously, which I keep touching on, where it's just based on what happens now with global markets. Again, I will go ahead and say I was the uncorrelated guy. Assets not uncorrelated at the moment. Taking a look at the market, crypto markets lost 50 billion in 2 days as Bitcoin slumped towards 20K. Which you don't read about in the ups and the downs. It gained 50 billion just 2 days before that, right? Kind of had a decent week last week, went into the weekend, rose. We were kind of rising up to around 22,000. I pointed out the fact that was a back test of the 200 MA on the weekly, which we expected to hold as resistance. And now we're just sort of going back. But anyone who's trying to tell you that there's anything interesting happening in the crypto market or Bitcoin chart right now is trying to sell you something, because it's just 20K, man. Where are we at now? 20,289. Yeah, and a whole lot of red in altcoin markets. Big surprise. We don't even talk about them anymore. What's the point? If you have a super, super stiff hard on for some altcoin project that you believe in long term, go ahead and buy some as an investment, sure. There's really no reason to be looking at the charts right here, because everything trades the same when the market is down. Every once in a while, you get this outlier. It's funny. I sent a tweet yesterday. Now I got to look exactly what I said, because I actually meant to include one more word and didn't. And this tweet it got everybody mad at me on every side. It was amazing. I said the strongest coins of the next bull cycle probably don't exist yet. Strongest coins of the next bull cycle probably don't exist yet. What I meant to say is the strongest performing coins of the next bull cycle probably don't exist yet. But I didn't say performing. I was talking strictly about what will happen with price and trying to make no judgment. And oh my God, if you wanted to know how miserable this place is, every maxi from every side of every coin, altcoin, Bitcoin, otherwise, jumped in, calling me a scammer, saying it would be pumping and dumping scams. And these are all scams, and the strongest coins obviously already exist. And oh my God, is this a miserable place to be right now? Woo! Woo. But yeah, guys, so obviously, I mean, Bitcoin is just basically trading at 20, altcoins really doing nothing. Now, they did a really important poll. Wall Street sees Bitcoin plummeting to 10K. Right? That's the headline. Actually, it was like 40% of the people that were surveyed thought it would go to 10K before it would go to 30K, meaning that like 60% of the people, 60% that it would go to 10K, 40% thought that it would go to 10K first. That's 60 versus 40. It's a pretty uninspired split. Not something I would say is news, but it's being reported obviously everywhere because, oh God, whatever. Did Solana exist in 2017? No. No, the idea that I was talking, does Luna exist now? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the point of that was that like every cycle, the old coins have all these holders, it's science, right? Who are willing to sell on any pump, and you get these new coins and they perform exceptionally well. But oh my God. When will Steve Ehrlich be on? Listen, they're not talking beyond like lawyers and the press. I think that it's very dangerous for anyone from Celsius or Voyager or any of these they can't go on shows right now, because the risk of saying something that the lawyers would disapprove of or that could affect what's happening in court is too great for them to do that. So I know that a lot of them really would like to talk, I can tell you, but they really can't. Yeah, guys. So this is a survey of Wall Street. 40% of the people think it'll go to 30,000, 60 to 10, and that's news. Cool. Bitcoin will make a comeback. Rockefeller International Chairman says, yeah, this is that shit this is that sweet hopium that we've signed up for, right? And this is Sharma, who is a former merging investor at banking giant Morgan Stanley, but also a New York Times selling best offer. Basically said what I've been saying a lot, because I love to make this comparison. Said basically it'll be like Amazon, which went down over 90% in the tech bubble burst, only to rise another, 300 times in value after that. I often use the Amazon comparison, but quick to say, Sharma, and then we needed the excess to get weeded out, and then we can see the emergence once again of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a steadier asset. Well, what the fuck has been happening? If not that, my God, are we not seeing the excess weeded out? I feel weeded out. Do you feel weeded out? Yeah, man. I feel super weeded out at the moment. And it ain't great. It ain't great. So I do think that that's what's happening. And I generally agree with this entire sentiment. Let's take a very quick look at the charts, because I don't know, we're contractually obligated to do it. Here's a weekly chart. Let's move some things here, make it a little bigger, right? There's 2017 high, 19,666 on Bitstamp. Well, this is what's happening, right? We're sandwiched between the 200 MA. There's that back test as resistance I talked about. That's when everybody started having the massive crypto Twitter circle jerk about how the bull market was starting again. The bear market was over because we had gone up to 22,000. Oh, yeah. Talk dirty to me. right? But we're still in the bear market. Lower highs, lower lows, very clearly. But we're sandwiched in here between that high, between the all-time high from 2017 and the 200 MA. And there's just nothing to do. But what is notable is this is 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of close below that 200 MA in the past. The most we'd ever had in history ever of all time was 1. We'd never even closed below it. Really, actually, you know what? I stand corrected. I've been saying that. And there was 2, 3 in a row right there. Right at the beginning of it. Oh, I'm going to have to revise my whole shit. I've been fake newsing. Irrelevant. But yes, 4 very clearly underneath. We got to get back above that mean reversion meme line right there because no, we don't. It's a chart. Who gives a shit? I mean, here's the 4-hour chart. Holy fucking boring. But as we went up to 22K, I very quickly pointed out that we had bearish divergence with overbought RSI in the 4-hour chart. You know how we roll, right? And that means inevitably, whether it happens now or whatever, or it goes straight down, we will get oversold. We will probably end up with a bullish divergence, and then we'll go back up again, rinse and repeat. That is the life we've been given. And listen, I haven't even opened it, but here is the stock market, SPX. It's down today. Bitcoin's down. Big mystery. Everything Scott says is fake news. Yeah, but I don't know it until like later in my defense. Saw your video with Caitlin. How come we don't get much exposure to people like that? People who clearly know what they're talking about. I mean, I feel like I try really, really hard to. First of all, those people aren't like starting YouTube channels. Caitlin Long is busy, I don't know, like starting the world's first crypto bank and working on legislation. They show up on this channel. I feel like I do my best to bring you like the big names who have that perspective. I mean, we're trying here. It's not that easy, guys. It's not that easy. We're doing our best. But yeah, stocks are down. Therefore, Bitcoin is down. Oh, 3 arrows. Creditors get emergency hearing as founders fail to cooperate. Creditors say the funds, remaining assets could be transferred or otherwise disposed of before creditors get their share. Sounds bad. So if you guys haven't been following this story, Suzu and Kyle basically just left Singapore. Nobody knows where they are. Lawyers went to their office. There was nobody there. Their NFT from Starry Night is their NFT fund. Those NFTs have mysteriously been transferring wallets out of their wallet. So there's definitely a little bit of fear here. They're on the run and their assets could just kind of disappear from these wallets. And guess what? Nobody can do shit about that, right? They got the keys. They got the access. But yeah, there was a Zoom call. This is one of the funniest stories ever. And they were both on the Zoom call, but with their cameras off, and neither said a word, and only their lawyers responded. So basically, someone signed on from each of their Zoom accounts or with their Zoom name, kept the screen off, and said nothing. Now, I shared this meme earlier. I think this is funny. Well, you'll wait for it, right? We're going to watch this together. And 3 Arrows Capital gets on the boat last. This is basically sums up everything happening in crypto right now.
My shoulder is, see, like the point everybody's using to get in nicely.
Here, 3 Arrows is getting on next.
And it's super easy. This is one of the best
Here comes
methods.
Kyle and Suzu.
And nobody has ever fallen in. It's like cash phases.
That's it. I don't even know why I YouTube. Could have just played that and said, that's all I got for you. Here's the crypto market in a single meme, right? Guy just took him out. First guy that got on was Celsius. Then you had like Luna and Voyager, whatever. I mean, Luna could also be the guy that got on last. It's what we got, right? These guys had 10 billion assets under management, and literally everybody in crypto loaned these guys money. I don't understand. BlockFi, $1 billion. Casual, 700 million from Voyager, which apparently is going to be passed on to me, creditor. I was hoping in life that I would secure some of that sweet 3 Arrows Capital debt to hope to get paid back on. But of course, then after that, I mean, we saw Genesis gave them money. I mean, literally everybody gave these guys money. It was like there was a fight to see how much more money you could give than someone else. Can we just watch this? No, man. It's Monday and I've already lost my whole shit. All of it. CoinFlex begins arbitration against 84 million delinquent customer, Roger Ver. Flex holders in focus. The company said it was speaking with depositors looking to help the business by rolling some of their deposits into equity. Yeah, what everybody wants, I'm finding from public opinion, is that when you have coins on a platform, you want that platform, instead of giving you back your Bitcoin or Ethereum, you want them to just give you a bunch of newly minted stock in that bankrupt or failing company. That's what you want. That's what you want. But anyways, guys, what I don't understand, I haven't read deep enough. They're going for a recovery of 84 million. Last I checked a week ago, Roger Ver owed them like 40 something million. Where did the 84 million number come from? But yeah, Roger Ver says that it's not Roger Ver, that they've mistaken him for Bodger Pier, Lodger Mir, his evil cousin. It's not Roger Ver that owes the money. He says, it's not me, guys. It's just a guy who looks a lot like me and has my name and social security number. But that's Dodger Deer. There. Yeah. But yeah, so now apparently the guy's debt has doubled, and everybody who's involved in CoinFlex, I guess, is going to have fun staying poor. We talked about the fact that CoinFlex is going to print a whole bunch of money and then offer 20% yields on that to pay people back, because we're humans and we learn things never. Don't know, man. Rough days. I said to my producer, Mike, I was like, yeah, it's Monday. And I don't really have shit to say. All I can say is Holy Trinity, Bitcoin, we're all kind of fucked. But we've got some quotes to make us feel better, like that the night is darkest before the dawn. Isn't that a quote? Pretty dark. Should we just watch this again? What do you guys think? That's all I got for you guys. Look, he says Sam Bankman works for Joe Biden. I actually think Joe Biden works for Sam Bankman. I think you got that wrong. You don't know how donations work. Anywho, guys, that is all I got for you today. I will, of course, be back tomorrow. This is going to be a short week. I think I will be not probably here on Thursday and Friday, because I got shit to do. It's not this. So you better get it in. You better get it in for the next 3 days. My mosquito bite's going away. I got bit by a mosquito directly on my face. It's been that kind of week. Right on the face. Directly in the face. What is she saying? I don't know, but it's provocative. Nobody knows. What do you guys got going on over here? Therapy. That's all we're doing here, Jeff. That's all we're doing here. I'm guessing the girl in the video is 3AC. I don't know. They could be dancing somewhere like that. God, I love you. Thank you so much. Eric? Sweet, man. You got the peninsulas over there. It's awesome. Yes, tiger blood. The blood of tigers. Do you still advocate Vault? What do you think? Do you see their name anywhere? No, they're no longer my sponsor. And I am now just a creditor in line like everyone else, waiting to see what happens with my money. Damn, Scott, you sex me up sometimes. It's like Color Me Bad up in here. You know? Come inside, take off your coat, I'll make you feel at home. Now let's pour a glass of wine, 'cause now we're all alone. That's I Want to Sex You Up, for anyone who doesn't know it. I want to sex you up. What's weird, there's 2 versions of that song. Complete different versions. That was the version where he's in the falsetto a cappella at the beginning. Then there's like a completely different version with other words and other singing. Yeah, man. It's cool. Glad I sex you up, though. That's dope. That song's from New Jack City, one of the greatest movies ever made. Yeah, your ears just bust a nut. I stuck it deep in your ear hole and gave you an eargasm. That's what I do. Are we ever going to get our coins back from Celsius? Dude, that's between you, Mashinsky, and Jesus, bro. I got nothing. Stop. I want to sex you up. You know who else is in that movie? Keith Sweat. He's singing at the wedding. Nobody, baby. Yeah, New Jack City is the shit. If y'all know about that movie, you need to go watch it right now. Ice-T. So I've told this story before, but that was a very, very big movie when I was in like high school, right before I went to college, mid 90s, because I'm an old ass dude. And Chris Rock was a character in that movie. Chris Rock, little crackhead named Pookie. They cleaned him up, but then he got dirty again. Then he died. I spoiled the whole movie. But Chris Rock was a little crackhead named Pookie. And when I was pledging a fraternity my freshman year, I was in a frat. I was a frat guy. They gave us pledge names, and my pledge name was Pookie because I was a skinny little. I didn't actually do crack, but like people likened me to with my energy and skinniness, likened me to a crackhead. That was my nickname. Yeah, Wesley Snipes, of course, bro. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. The Cash Money Brothers. Juice was a great movie. Juice was a great movie with Tupac as Bishop. Yeah, you guys know about New Jack City. Can you change the bathroom light? Yeah, what color do you want it to be? I can make it any color. Call me Scooter. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's time to take a short break from crypto and follow Florida basketball. That seems more depressing. Seems more depressing. Slide. Welcome, buddy. You just caught up. Good job. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. For reals, though, I'm out of here. Don't miss me too much. Don't cry. Bye.
Let's go.